it here. Please be welcome to the podium, to this beautiful congregation, and you give us what you have on successes and failures of alliances.
Thank you, Senior Henry Lowa. Ladies and gentlemen, protocol observed. Good afternoon. Already, I don't need to go back into self-introduction. I think what he has given is fair enough. He was forgetting the name Nsereko, but finally it came over to him and he mentioned it. That one also speaks about me. The task I was given is to look into the alliances we have had previously, their impact, and how we can use that information to shape future coalitions and alliances. So my topic this afternoon is titled Political Coalitions and Alliances in Uganda. Historical perspectives to shape the future. I start with the background. Uganda has a rich history of political alliances and coalitions dating back to the 1960s. This much you all know, towards and after independence. The first major alliance was between the Uganda People's Congress, as he stated, and Kabaka Ika in 1962 to contest for pre-independence elections. This alliance remains very significant as it brought together two parties with different ideologies, with the UPC being Republican leaning and KY being monarchy. Political alliances. A political alliance is a formal or informal agreement between two or more political parties, organizations, or individuals to cooperate and work together to achieve common goals, interests, and objectives. Alliances can be formed at various levels, including 1, electoral alliance. I think Mr. Luowa will explain about this, whether it's electoral alliance, all government alliance, all policy alliance, ideological alliance, or strategic alliance. The explanations about these ones are given in the paper I prepared, and I hope at a later stage copies will be distributed to all members here to know, to have the depth of it. So what are the characteristics of political alliances? 1, shared goals, and if we don't find any of these ones provided for in this one, then you have a right to raise a hand. Yes, characteristics, one of them is to share goals and interests. Is that what is happening here? Are we sharing goals and interests? Yes. Verified. Cooperative decision making. Are we ready to do that? Mutual support and loyalty. Common platform, all agendas. This is a common platform for all of us here. Very good. Division of labor and resources, joint campaigning and advocacy. Are we prepared for that? Joint campaigning and advocacy, regular communication and consultation. Those are characteristics of successful alliances. What are the benefits then? There are benefits, definitely, of alliances. 1, increased influence and power. Whoever now tries to disconnect you from this effort is denying you the opportunity of influence and power. That is a very key benefit of an alliance. Then improved electoral chances. I'm made to understand that this effort will also look into the reforms we desire to be forwarded to where they are expected to be. Then enhanced policy impact. Even by the end of this effort here, we shall be in position to influence policy at national level. Then greater legitimacy and credibility. Legitimacy and credibility, very critical, very important. You cannot have it, you cannot claim to have legitimacy and impact if you are just operating at individual level. Individual level. And it changes when you become a group called an alliance. Then better representation of diverse interests. Yes. JEEMA has different interests from art, from DP block, but then when you bring them together, we can represent them very fairly, very powerfully. Then encourages cooperation and compromise. Those are benefits of what you are doing here, creating an alliance. Who doesn't desire that? Who doesn't need that? And should anybody distract you from that and you listen? Are you going to listen to that individual distracting you from that? Then we need to talk about, it's right there, about political coalitions. The two concepts are different. They are used interchangeably, but actually they are different. So what is a political coalition? It's a specific formal agreement between parties to share power and governance. What we are, the level at which we are now here is an alliance. Then after an alliance, we shall make a what? A political coalition, which is a specific formal agreement, to be an agreement. As of now, we don't have agreements, do we? No. Then a political coalition typically involves a partnership to form a government or achieve a specific goal. It requires shared commitment, coalition, shared commitment to join for joint decision making and policy implementation. Usually, it involves a division of cabinet positions. I'm talking about coalition, different from an alliance. So in it, at the formative stages, I talk about division of cabinet positions. Hey, we shall come at that. JEEMA, which position? Of course, we cannot miss education. We are very passionate about that. Then morality itself. We identified this as a problem since 1996, and you can see when they neglected it. You can confirm why we insist that the so-called present revolution did not respond to the concerns of the citizens, including the moral question. So, Minister in charge of morality, JEEMA is there waiting for 18 years now. 18 years in the trenches. Then political coalition usually involve a division of cabinet. I've talked about that. Even resources and responsibilities. When you talk about the coalition, you talk about these issues from the outset. Then it focuses on shared governance, collective responsibility, and coordinated policy making. Key differences between alliance and coalition. Remember, we are assessing what happened in the past so that we can shape the future, right? So what are the key differences between a coalition and an alliance? Level of formality, at the construction, when you are forming them, coalitions are formal agreements, remember that, while alliances can be informal, as we are now, the stage where we are. Okay? Then, what is the purpose? Alliances focus on cooperation, while coalitions aim to share power and governance. What I can assure you is that we shall get at that level of coalition. Okay? Then scope. How far? Coalitions typically involve joint governance, while alliances may not. Duration. For how long? Coalitions often have a fixed term, while alliances can be ongoing. Coalition lasts for the term of office. When it ends, you can't change to something else. Maybe you continue allying, you continue to be allies. Then decision making, coalitions require joint decision making, while alliances may involve separate decision making. Now, briefly, let's go into history a little bit. History of political alliances in Uganda. For the last decades of independence, a number of political alliances have contributed to Uganda's political dynamics, influencing election outcomes and policy decisions. However, the country's authoritarian, underline that, the country's authoritarian context and restrictions, and this is still happening, on opposition parties have limited their effectiveness right from prior to independence to date. To date, authoritarian restrictions have limited the impact of coalitions. Now, they start emerging, mushrooming in the post-independence period. That is 1960s. Okay, let's just look at this period, 1960s and 1980s. What happened in between? There was UPC-KY coalition formed or lasting from 1962 to 1967. This alliance formed a coalition government, transformed from an alliance to a coalition, and formed a government with Dr. Milton Obote as Prime Minister. To date, this alliance and eventual coalition remains a significant chapter. There are some who are condemning it, who want to use it as an excuse, as a reason for their existence. But the rest of Ugandans agree that this development day remains a significant chapter in Uganda. It offered insights into the complexity of coalition building and power dynamics. That is the KY, the very first one, KY or UPC-KY, alliance and then coalition. Second alliance was by Democratic Party and UPC in 1970s. Actually, 1970s, DP and UPC formed an alliance to oppose Idi Amin's military regime. Then there comes Uganda National Liberation Front coalition of 1979 and 1980 for 1 year. It's a coalition of parties including UPC, DP, and KY formed to overthrow Idi Amin and other groups which joined from Tanzania there. Of course, KY was then represented in several ways. What I remember in Ruwero, there was one called Mulangira Juko Walugembe, not the one we have here. I wonder whether they know each other. Huh? Ooh, okay, then he will tell us, yeah, that man, where did he disappear? Really, I don't see him benefiting the current revolution. Yet he was very, very active in the bushes of Ruwero, mobilizing, convincing the Uganda community there. In fact, he played a very critical role. Yes, very critical role. I'm happy I'm seeing you in him here. Thank you. Thank you for being actually part of the now new revolution-making forces that Uganda desires. Then under NRM, a number of coalitions have emerged. Under NRM, in 30 years, actually NRM, you can say, I want to count them for 43 years. If I add the 5 on the 38, they have been in power. The 5 of the Bush, the Wabugembes, the Malagira, and then, well, his influence stopped there in Rwanda. So sorry to say. So under NRM, a number of alliances have emerged. There's of course the NRM itself, that the movement led by Yoweri Museveni has been a dominant force in Ugandan politics since 1986. For 38 years now, in government, no, uninterrupted. But even then, they were interrupting the politics of the country before that, and they want to continue doing the same even after 40 years in power. But it has formed alliances with various groups. My colleague will tell you about UPC, the kind of cooperation existing there. Yeah. Including, of course, military. There's an alliance with the military. You know, the president of Uganda is not comfortable with the name Uganda People's Defense Forces. He wants National Resistance what? Army. He has reasons which academicians can interpret for the rest of the country. Unfortunately, the elite of this country were chased out of political participation by asking them to resign their civil service jobs if they have to participate. And that, do you know how that came about? It was because of my party chairman, Muhammad Mayanja. You know, when he offered to contest him in 1996, Mayanja was then a director of planning at Makerere University. In other words, employed by government. So they learned that to contain these people who are working in the civil service, you put this law, you introduce this law. It becomes very difficult for them now. The kind of politics we are having, to sacrifice their jobs, that contains them there. That's why we time and again ask, where are the elites of this country? So you people, you have to, to give us comfort. They've told you where I'm earning bread for my family. But again, these are not public institutions where I'm working. With the public institutions, I wouldn't be very comfortably speaking before you here. So, another coalition is the inter-party cooperation. We are telling you where the whole alliance is going. It knows where the country is coming from in terms of political alliances. So there was the inter-party cooperation, IPC, formed in 2011, and was a coalition of opposition parties aimed at challenging NRM's dominance. Although it faced challenges, the IPC, we credit it. It demonstrated the potential for opposition parties to work together. They worked together, indeed. You saw Mama Cecilia Ogwa and Dr. Kawanga Semodele dancing together, okay? Which was not imagined earlier on. So they showed that potential and you credit them for that. Then there's the Democratic Alliance, TDA. Remember TDA? Nightmare. This was a nightmare, if I can say. I'm sorry, that is a hurried conclusion maybe. But why? Why do I have to say so? Because it was established in 2015 and brought together several parties to contest the 2016 presidential election. But we failed almost at the formative stage because some of the members, the allies, withdrew their membership. And fast forward, the principal then is already back into NRM fold. You remember him? Mr. Mama Mbabas. Where is he? Currently. So he was the principal then of TDA. Then there's a Democratic Alliance. Yes, I've addressed that. Then there is the Inter-Party Cooperation IPC, established 2011, ultimately failed to achieve its goals due to internal conflicts and power struggles. The key 6 alliances. These alliances are helping us to shape the future of alliance. That's why we are discussing them. The key 6 alliance formed in 2006. It was a coalition of 6 opposition parties that failed to make a significant impact due to internal divisions. Remember, we are repeating internal divisions. So when you are here forming all alliance, be very careful, be very keen on that. Those are the lessons we are learning. Then there was the BCJ, DP, UPC, and the Reform Agenda Alliance in 2001. An alliance that failed to unseat President Museveni due to lack of cohesion and strategic difference. Mark those things. Due to lack of cohesion and strategic differences. Then there was the IPFC Alliance in 1996. I think this should have been the very first one. A coalition that failed to gain traction due to internal power struggles and conflicting ideologies. Mark those problems, please. Mark those problems. Then, what are the historical challenges faced by political alliances in Uganda? Historical challenges. One of them, inter-party dynamics, where there's competition over shared electoral constituencies. This has affected us all the time. Competition over shared electoral constituencies and lack of trust among party leaders. In the previous election of 2011, there had been an agreement where different, it was a loose. It was a loose coalition, actually formed under the ban of people power. Remember? You saw Mukabu in people power. You saw Basaru and people power. You saw, but after the Arua debacle, I don't know what took place there. I don't know what kind of meetings took place there. When people returned to Kampala, somebody claimed to register people power as a party. We don't know how far he went, whether he really succeeded and he owns it. And when we now today see people power, our power. I don't know who we are promoting, whether the one who claimed to own it from Electoral Commission and who is now a minister, or it is still ours. When people, what do you feel? Maybe you don't pay attention to this. When you see people power, our power, who are you promoting? The one who, in fact, I think it is registered. Because I never heard of news that they rejected registering it. Who are you promoting? The Minister for Youth who went there to register it? Or the real? Anyway, after Arua, things went astray. People power is no more. Who have never heard anything equal to that. Never. So, those differences, they affect alliances. Of course, there is these are historical, by the way, because they are in the past. Okay. Then there are, of course, ideological differences. Parties with different ideologies struggle to find common ground. I hope it won't be the same here now. We have different ideologies, but this shouldn't be a cause for us to struggle and fail to get a common ground. This is highlighted by differences in core values. Like I've told you about morality, I hope we all agree about that. Here, we don't, for example, things like gay practices. Because there are some Ugandans who belong to some parties who are up to now very angry with the Honorable Asmani Basalirwa for introducing that bill that caused that law. The law that totally bans gay practices, especially in our schools where it had become a very big problem. As JEEMA, we are proud of what Honorable Basalirwa did, and did the people of Uganda are happy with that, because parents were complaining that night of what was happening in schools. Today, those complaints have reduced and they are comfortable because of that law. We are very proud of that, and we are also proud of the allies here, members here, because you showed support to that, to Honorable Asmani Basal. And indeed, you still do offer that support. We are very proud of that, and even to you Ugandans, especially in the villages there, you offered support to that cause. Thank you very much for that. Then there's the problem of external pressure, infiltration, external pressure, which comes in form of infiltration, interference from external actors, including the ruling party. They infiltrate our parties. The ruling party itself, international pressure, public opinion, and interest groups, which strains the alliance relationships. Let me tell you something about this. Right now, the whole alliance, which I want to abbreviate as THA, I don't know whether Mr. Mkap, that should be the correct abbreviation, THA, the whole alliance, or maybe it is HA, but it's now being accused ever since this process started a few days ago. Yes, it is featuring, by the way, when attention is paid and comments are made, you shouldn't be distracted by that. It is they are recognizing you. Something that doesn't matter is not, doesn't generate even a comment. Okay? So, the comments I've been hearing suggest that this effort has been funded by over 3 billion Uganda shillings. And then the last communication I got from Mr. Goa was asking, JEEMA, please forward your contribution. And how much do you think we forward? We hardly go beyond 5 million. You know the economic status of the country, all of you, okay? And it's an effort from our treasury there. But somebody was saying 3 billion shillings. Can you imagine on the national radio? Morality, zero. Zero. Yes, really, you cannot use such a mass platform to promote a lie of that extent. Yeah? But look at this. If somebody says that, what does it bring to your mind? It tells you that, yes, this man is confessing, is giving a confession of having been a beneficiary of the same previously. You see, you cannot start condemning me of visiting a doctor, whichever practice, whether traditional doctor or a doctor in Mulago Hospital that is working on an ailment, a disease in me that you don't know about. Okay? You are confessing that you are seeing all the hallmarks, all the signs on me, the same signs you have experienced before. Right? That is what you are communicating, my friend, the one who is promoting that propaganda, that this effort has been helped with over 3 billion Uganda shillings. Okay? So, but again, if any force is doing that, should it have started with this one? Even if it was any other, should it have started with the whole alliance to do this? That means it has been doing it with even previous formations of this nature. And those are the victims or the promoters. But what should you be doing, our friends there? We are suffering from the same disease. You should offer, if you don't want me to have anybody to support me, you should then offer a solution. Because ultimately, this is what Ugandans are looking for. They want a solution to the many problems they are experiencing in the country today. So you come join here, since that medicine you are talking about that we are receiving did not help you, advise us that doesn't work. Okay? It doesn't work, let's work it out like this. Then of course there are leadership struggles, lack of trust, incompatible goals, communication breakdowns. So these are the things that have affected and impacted alliances in the past that we need to avoid currently. I'll skip this in the interest of time. Best practices for building successful alliances. Best practices. I wanted to, but when I mentioned it, I felt like I should hurriedly go through it. What are the best practices? 1, establish clear goals. Mr. Convener, ensure we have established clear goals and objectives for everyone to understand, for everyone to see logic in them. Then foster open communication and trust. Nothing should be done in secrecy. Open communication and trust. Develop inclusive decision-making processes. Manage conflicts effectively. Ensure mutual benefits. Everybody should be benefiting. Not some people going and talking on the back of others. See? Ensure mutual benefits. Then adapt to changing circumstances. So many innovations are coming up. I'm sure, yes, I'm happy that there's live streaming now. That is flexibility. It never happened previously. Flexibility, adopting to the emerging developments. Then establish strong institutional frameworks. Strong institutional frameworks. Engage in regular evaluation. Honorable Mabike is very good at this. Regular evaluation. Even after this one, we will conduct that meeting before people disperse from this location. Then key factors to influence future success, almost the same as what I've mentioned here. Then strategic partnerships. We need these ones. Strategic partnerships. We have the civil society engagement. I'm told some of the visitors expected later in the day are coming from the civil society space. That's very welcome. It's very, very welcome. Also, international cooperation. Honorable Mka talked about it. International politics plays a very critical role, and the current leadership of a revolution that has gone astray, that we don't want, master that aspect. International politics, we have to be actively engaged, and by international, it means going beyond the region here. Yes, we should be seen to be actively involved in these issues at regional and international levels, as well as creating partnerships with them. Then, and finally, I'm about to end, what the new formations, including Whole Alliance, can do differently from what others have done. Future political alliances in Uganda, including the Whole Alliance, can succeed by learning from the past challenges. Can succeed by learning from the past challenges and adopting effective strategies. Uganda's history of political alliances and coalitions serves as a valuable lesson for future coalition building efforts, highlighting the importance of strong leadership. Strong, Mr. Bukavu emphasized this. Strong leadership. In his speech, he emphasized it. Clear communication, banagi. Something called the communication. The concept of communication. I happen to be teaching this. It's something to go with nature. The first man to communicate was, who is the first man, by the way, if I can turn this slide into a lecture room. The first man, human being, you know him as who? Adam. Did he communicate? Yes. How did he communicate? Of course, he was told to communicate by his creator. That tells you communication goes hand in hand with nature. Whoever attempts to stop you from communicating is fighting nature, and they can never succeed. I promise you, they can never. Even now, as you plan for a one-on-one model, you will be doing communication. And there are going to be attempts to stop you from conducting that communication. I'm telling you, just get determined. Get determined. You will succeed. The one who attempts to stop me from doing that will fail. Then, and addressing internal conflicts, people, we are focusing much on internal conflicts, forgetting the prime enemy where our efforts should be primarily targeted. Please handle this. So by embracing new principles, reforms, and partnerships, addressing partnerships, new political alliances, including this one of ours, can overcome historical challenges. And contribute to a more democratic and stable political environment in Uganda. So what are the key considerations? First, stronger leadership. I repeat it again. There should be mutual benefits, trust and loyalty, flexibility and compromise. You have to be flexible and compromise some of your interests in favor of others. Shared goals and values, institutional framework. I'm proud that already these things are in the process of being addressed by this mechanism. External support, very critical. Robust communication. I'm very happy. This is now being, there are a few here, and so many others are following from several platforms of communication. Then finally, nature of revolutionary political formation. This is where I'm going to do. You know, what I've been explaining here works in a normal environment. Works in an environment that has enablers, that enables people to conduct these things. Our situation in Uganda is unique, different. The people in power who have held it for 40 years, they claim to be a revolution. Therefore, to counter them, we have to initiate a revolution. So we have to go a bit unconventional, maybe what is known to be conventional. Now, of course you know that their operations target grassroots. They go at the grassroots. And they want to dominate the people there. They don't want you to talk to the people there. They operate with extremism. They can create proxies, even groups fighting, armed groups fighting, and they kill others. They can create proxy political parties, and they make them appear as if they are the strongest in the land. Okay? Yet they are not actually going to, there is no competition being offered. See? Those are the so-called revolutionary parties for the purpose of sustaining domination. To dominate. So that's how they survive, and you have to adjust accordingly. You adjust accordingly. Then, of course, they survive by diversionary, always diverting you from where you are to a direction where they want you to go. They survive by deceptions. Those so-called revolutionary parties in Africa especially. And those are the things we have to change from when we are starting a new revolution. Because these things have proved not to work in the interest of the people of this country. Therefore, what are the actions that should be taken? I want this message to go out to the villages, the countryside, where over 70% of our population resides. You have previously done a very commendable job by bringing the current so-called revolution in power. Unfortunately, you have been disappointed, utterly disappointed, that your aspirations have not been responded to. You people, Ugandans in the countryside, the mothers and fathers of the boys and girls between 13 and 18 years, who should have been in secondary school, they are seated at home. That has never been your aspiration. Ugandan young men between the ages of 13 to 18, who should have been in secondary schools, 50% of them are seated at home. People in the villages, they have never desired this. This is not the revolution you sacrificed for. This is not the revolution your people died for. We are talking about the 70% of Ugandans in the countryside whose children in primary school, 45% of them do not complete P7. Nelson Mandela of South Africa stated it clearly. If you want to kill a nation, you don't need Scud missiles. You don't need long-range missiles. Just reduce the quality of its education. By killing the quality of our education, our country has been killed. There's a chance to make it resurrect. In the countryside, who have been told that they are health centers at level 3, where you go, and if you find a medical worker, there's no medicine. What is going to come next? Death. Killed. Countryside, where you've been told about parish development model to address the gaps in our agriculture sector, but you have to wait for rain to come. You plan together, and therefore you are going to harvest together. You are never going to change in your economic status. Therefore, the job you have done, this calling comes to you, it concerns you. Holy Alliance concerns you. Squarely rests on your shoulders to uplift this country from the abyss where it is struggling to emerge 40 years after you created the first revolution. You need now to come again. Please embrace the one-on-one model coming to you. And when you come to us, we shall